Throughout the course, we're going to use a number of hacking tools. You can install each of these tools manually, or you can do what most hackers do, including myself, and save time and effort and use an operating system designed for hacking. We're going to use an operating system called Kali Linux. It's a Linux distro based on Debian, and the only difference between Kali and the actual original Debian Linux distro is the fact that Kali has a lot of hacking and penetration testing tools pre-installed and pre-configured in it. Therefore, once you install Kali, you will have access to so many hacking tools without the need to install or configure any of them, which will save you a lot of time and a lot of effort. Now, just like any other operating system, you can install it as a main machine or as a virtual machine. Now, I'm going to install it as a virtual machine because, like I explained in the previous lecture, we will not lose any functionality by using operating systems as virtual machines, and it comes with a lot of benefits because it's completely isolated from our computer that we always use. So if we break the virtual machine or if we want to delete it and reset it, it will not affect our main operating system. Now, as mentioned in the previous lecture, before creating and using virtual machines, you will have to install VirtualBox, and I showed you how to install it on Windows, Linux, and OS X. So once you have VirtualBox installed, you can go ahead and follow the steps that I'm going to show you right now to install Kali Linux. Now keep in mind, I'm doing these steps from an OS X computer, but you can follow the exact same steps on any operating system you have, whether you have Linux or Windows, as long as you have installed VirtualBox on your system as shown in the previous lecture. Now the first thing that you want to do is download the VirtualBox image of Kali Linux, so you can download it from the resources of this lecture. To access the resources of the current lecture, we're going to scroll down to the lecture, we're going to click on the resources icon, and then we're going to click on the resource that we want. And in this case, we want the Kali 2020 download page. So we're going to click on it. Now this is a custom Kali image that I made for my courses. It is smoother and faster than the original one. It fixes a number of bugs, and it contains a number of extra programs that we need for this course and are not included in the original release. You can see the full list of changes that I made here on the left. You can also follow us on YouTube if you want from here, but the main reason we're here on this page is to download Kali. So if you have a 64-bit computer, download it from one of these links, or if you have a 32-bit computer, then download the 32-bit version from here. Now this is a big operating system, so I've actually already downloaded this before recording this lecture, and I already have it right here. So as you can see, you should get a file with a .ova extension. So you have the file name followed by .ova. To import this in VirtualBox, all we have to do is literally double-click the file. As you can see, this will automatically run the file in VirtualBox, and you'll get a window which you can use to modify the settings of this virtual machine. For now, I'm going to keep everything the same, and I'm just going to click on Import. Give it some time. And as you can see now, this is imported into my VirtualBox, and we can go ahead and try to start it. But before doing that, I want to modify some settings. So we're going to click on the virtual machine that we want to modify its settings, which is Kali Linux in this case, and then I'm going to click on the settings icon. Now, depending on the host operating system that you're using, the layout of the settings menu in here might be slightly different, but using it is exactly the same. So make sure you follow the steps that I'm going to show you right now, and it should work on all operating systems, whether you're using Windows, Linux, or OS X. So the first thing that I want to modify is the system settings. So I'm going to click on System, and in here you can first of all modify the amount of RAM or memory that will be allocated for the virtual machine. Now, depending on how much RAM you have in total, you can give this more or less. 2 GB is enough. You can get away with 1 GB, but it might be a little bit slow. So I'm gonna leave it at 2. I have 16 gigs, so 2 will not cause any pressure on my host operating system. Next, I'm gonna click on the processors. And as you can see, by default, it's only given 2 cores. Again, you can give it more or less. You can get away with 1 core. It'll be too slow. 2 is good enough. The more the better. Again, it all depends on how much resources you have and can afford to give to virtual machines. I have 8 CPUs, so giving it 2 will not put too much pressure on my operating system. Next, I'm gonna go to the network settings, and I'm gonna set this to use a NAT network. Now, sometimes when you select a NAT network, you will not see a network name in here. If you don't, then don't worry about it. This is a common issue, and I have the solution for you in the resources of this lecture. Just click on it, follow it, and you'll see how to fix this issue. Now for me, as you can see, I already have a NAT network in here, so I'm going to keep it on this one. And this setting will basically create a virtual network where my host machine, which is my Mac OS X computer, is going to be the router for this network, and then all the virtual machines are going to be clients connected to this network. So they're going to get internet connection from my host machine. And at the same time, all of my virtual machines will be connected to the same virtual network. This is very handy because my virtual machines will be able to communicate with each other, and therefore we'll be able to use the Kali machine to hack into the others, we'll be able to test network attacks, and do much more. So this setting will first allow my virtual machines to have internet connection, and it will also allow them to communicate with each other through this virtual NAT network. Now, this virtual network will rely on the connection of your host computer. So it will not need any extra interfaces, it will not need any extra adapters. And as far as the virtual machines are concerned, they are connected to an Ethernet network, but in reality, they are connected through the host machine. Now, if you're on VirtualBox 6 and have a screen with high resolution, you'll need to go to Display and set the scale factor to 200%. Otherwise, the virtual machine screen will be too small, but only do this if you have a screen with a high resolution and if you're using VirtualBox 6. Otherwise, do not modify this option. Now I'm done here, so I'm going to click on OK, and we can start the virtual machine like any other virtual machine. We're just going to click it and then click on Start. Now, if you followed everything that I did so far and faced a black screen or got an error, please check out the links in the resources of this lecture, as they cover the most common issues that you could face when starting Kali. If you got an issue that is not covered there, don't worry, please ask us in the Q&A section and we will respond to you within 15 hours and help you fix this issue. Now I'm going to click inside the virtual machine and hit enter. And as you can see, we have the login screen for Kali Linux. So right now it's asking me for the username, and the default username is root, R-O-O-T. I'm going to hit enter, and then it's asking us for the password, which is the reverse of the username, so it is T-O-O-R. Hit enter, and that's it. Now we're inside the virtual installation of Kali Linux. Now don't worry about how this operating system looks different, and if you don't know how to use it, we will cover all of that and we'll cover its basics as we go through the course. But for now, if you just look at the top right in here, you'll see that this virtual machine thinks that it is connected using a wire. So you can see wire connected. So Kali thinks that it is connected to an Ethernet network. And that's because, like I said, we set it to use a NAT network. So if I just go to my web browser, as you can see, we have internet access in Kali Linux, and this is provided from the host computer. So Kali is connected to the internet through the host computer, and as far as Kali is concerned, the host computer is a router and it is connected to this router through an Ethernet cable. If Kali feels a little bit too slow or laggy, please give it a few minutes if this is the first time you run it, because when you start it for the first time, it will automatically check for updates. Once this process is done, the system will start running a little bit smoother. Also, it goes without saying, if your computer is not powerful enough, then close any unused applications before starting Kali to free up resources. But as you'll see throughout the course, 2 GB of RAM and 2 CPUs are enough to run Kali smoothly. Okay, so after installing Kali Linux, we're going to proceed to installing the second machine in our lab. So the second machine is going to be Metasploitable. Metasploitable is another Linux machine. You can think of it as the opposite to Kali. So Kali is designed so that you can use it to hack into other devices. Metasploitable is designed so that you hack into it. So it's designed for people who want to learn penetration testing. It is designed so that it has a number of vulnerabilities, and we're going to try to use Kali Linux in order to hack into Metasploitable. You can download this from the following link. You will end up with a zip file like this one. So, sorry, not this one, like this one. So once you uncompress it, you'll get this directory. Double click it and you'll see the following files. So we're going to create a new machine here in virtual machine, and I'm going to call it Metasploitable. And this is going to be a Linux machine. And I'm going to hit continue. And I'm only going to give it a gigabyte of RAM, should be enough. And then I'm going to use, remember with Kali Linux, we created a new virtual hard disk. With this, we're going to use an existing one. The reason for that is because the image that we have right now is actually, it's designed for VMware Player. So what we're going to do is we're going to import the hard disk file or the hard disk image in here, so that we're going to have a ready installation without having to install it the way we installed Kali Linux. So we're just going to use an existing virtual hard disk file, and I'm just going to navigate to select what it is. I'm going to go into the Metasploitable directory, and I'm going to select the .vmdk file. So it's this file right here. I'm going to click on open and create. So we're going to start this machine right now. Okay, so the machine has run now. It's completely installed. As I said, you don't really need to install anything. We just imported a ready installation, a ready hard disk. So it's asking me for the username. And the username is msfadmin. And the password is the same, so it's msfadmin as well. And as we can see now, we logged in. Now this machine only has a terminal, as you can see right now. And it's giving you a warning that you should never expose this machine to external internet connection, because it is a vulnerable machine. It is designed to be vulnerable. Now, right now, it's only inside our lab. It's only installed as a virtual machine. So literally nobody outside our lab can access it. So this is a really good way of using it. Now this is it. The machine is installed. As I said, in the future, we're going to talk about how we're going to try and hack into this machine. Again, don't be intimidated by the terminal. We're going to be using it a lot, and we're going to learn how to use it step by step. So at the moment, we have this installed, and we're going to move on to the next step. And we will talk about this once we actually need to use it in the future. So if you want to turn off this machine, all you have to do is just type in power off and hit enter. And it's telling you that you need to be root. So again, I'll talk about this later. For now, sudo power off. So just run the command like this. And it's asking you for the admin password. And that's it. It's going off now. And here we go. The machine is off.